Spivey. Today what I wanted to talk to you about was something I think is kind of important, and that's why I am comfortable talking about politics online. I wanted to talk about the reason why, if you happen to follow me on Twitter, you'll find that most of it is retweets of other people's political posts and occasionally some political content of my own. I am comfortable telling you that I'm a feminist. I'm comfortable telling you that I'm a liberal. I'm comfortable telling you that I am going to be voting Democratic this year. I'm comfortable telling you that I'm a registered Democrat. I'm comfortable telling you that I'm pro-choice. Like, these things don't bother me because they're a deeply rooted part of my identity. I strongly believe that all people should have the right to exist and to be happy and to be free. The Democratic Party tends to line up with those beliefs far more than the other major political party in my country. But I wanted to talk to you about why it is that I'm comfortable doing that and why many people are not comfortable doing that. The main thing, and you're gonna hate me for saying it, the main reason is money. I have a presence online where I am not making money off of my online presence, like this channel, my Twitter, and my Instagram especially. I'm not making money from being an online personality. I have my poetry books out, but they are both fairly political, and poetry is also a platform where that is expected and actually desired. Whereas with novels, some of the time it's not. So let me talk to you about the reason why many people don't want to share politics online, why they want to completely escape the entire thing, either not talk to you about it at all, not mention politics in any way, form, or fashion, or kind of skirt around the bush and be like, oh, I don't follow politics. And the real reasons have to do with money. When someone says, oh, I don't talk about politics, or oh no, I don't really have strong beliefs or anything like that, but they're trying to sell you something, the main reason is they would like to sell their content to people who believe the opposite thing. For example, let's say what you're writing happens to be Christian romance. Let's just say it's that. So the main target audience for Christian romance would probably, and I'm just kind of pulling this out there, probably be conservative stay-at-home mothers. And let's say that you, though, happen to lean pretty far politically towards the left. Well, if you were to be like, I supported Hillary Clinton and I wanted Buttigieg to win, all of these things, probably a lot of your fan base would be like, okay, don't like her anymore. On the other hand, if you thrive on writing, let's say, sci-fi fantasy for young adults or for teenagers, let's say you're dystopian writer, a lot of the audience is going to be younger people who tend to fall towards more of the liberal side. And if you're out here being like, Trump is the best, a lot of them will be like, no, fuck her. A lot of it is kind of a game. You don't want to alienate your fan base, so you don't say things about yourself and your beliefs if they aren't apparent in your writing, or if your target audience is not quite the same as your political beliefs are. And I think it happens a lot more often than you think, and I think it's something that used to be quite easy to hide, and something that is really not as easy to hide now, and why a lot of people make a stance and say, oh, I'm not political, oh, I don't believe in these things, oh, I'm gonna unfollow people if they start being political. Part of it is kind of to protect your bottom line. Let's say you wrote a wonderful book and you really wanted as many people to read it as possible, and it happens to read pretty politically neutral. It's about something completely else. It's like a romance novel, let's say, and politics just doesn't play into the plot at all. You wouldn't really want to, on social media, project this personality of being super towards one side of politics or another, constantly talking about the candidate you like, if then that's going to make people not want to buy your book. I'm not explaining this well. Editing K here. I wasn't really explaining this well. Let's go back to the example of Christian romance. You would alienate a lot of your target audience for that genre if you were spending all your time on social media, like hyping up abortion rights. Or if you happen to write LGBT romances, you'd get into a lot of trouble if you were speaking out actively against trans rights. I just wanted to emphasize that this is all good business sense with a capital B, but what I'm trying to get at is that it's, in my opinion, an outdated business model that I believe is harmful and even dangerous. But let's get back to me making my way to that point. When people are reluctant to tell you what their political leanings are, so often is because they like to sell you something. Selling you something is the number one reason people don't want to talk about politics, that they don't want to tell you what their political beliefs are. In a business sense, that's the correct thing to do, that's the right thing to do. But I think a lot of the problem is that it sort of alienates people. It makes people feel as though they're being alienated. When you have all these people in these certain types of media, especially all these creatives in these certain types of media who refuse to talk about politics, but like maybe seem to be on one side or the other, or just based upon where they live, you feel like they must be on one side or the other, or because of their accent, they must be on one side or the other, their skin tone, things like that. If you see a lot of them and you assume they all must think one thing because of the kind of content that they're putting out, you might begin to feel a bit alienated, and you might start to seek out much more radical versions of your beliefs because you feel like those are the only people who accept you for who you are, who believe in you. A lot of this is stuff I've been thinking of ever since classically Abby started spamming everyone. Like, you cannot get rid of those ads. How much money did she spend on those ads? Because they are constantly in my recommendeds, and I'm just like, I've already said I'm not interested. Please stop showing me her channel. I have no interest. And they keep spamming me. She's hitting a niche audience that I think has come about because people are so reluctant to talk about their politics, because they're trying to sell to people who are not the people who are in their political party. If people were more open about it, if people were more casual about being like, yes, I am a Democrat, I'm voting Democrat, I have always leaned towards the left, that's where my political views line up. And if other people were coming along and being like, well, but these are the reasons that I'm over here, which the reason I'm having a struggle talking about this is because people don't really talk about this. It's because when people do talk about it, it's with a certain level of like shame or shamelessness, but that doesn't really help either. And it doesn't help to act like you're feeling ashamed of it, that this is like, ooh, some radical thing and I'm trying to sneak it into the woodwork. Editing K here to jump back in again and make it clear that a lot of the perspective I'm speaking to comes from white privilege. Racial and ethnic minorities, LGBTQ plus people, disabled people, and many others don't have the luxury of walking through the world without politics attached. For them, living is for or against someone else's political views, which is absurd, but also true. The more you kind of discuss and open up and let other people know and have discussions about politics, especially something that is wildly influential in your day-to-day life that you do not even recognize. And I think a lot of people are waking up to that for the first time these past 4 years. Some of you for the first time this year, you're waking up to how dramatically politics affects your life in particular. Because a lot of people are waking up to that finally, we're getting more discussion about like where people stand on human rights. But at the same time, it's still not comfy to talk about politics. And many people have made it this way. I mean, let's even go back to the last election where there are plenty of people who are like, oh, I'm perfectly comfortable to make a joke about either or candidate, maybe more jokes about one candidate than the other, but I will not say what my political views are, or I will not discuss politics, or I'm not saying who I'm voting for. And they were doing it to protect themselves because that was something that was done. Now, you didn't talk about politics, you didn't push your political beliefs on other people. But at the same time, a lot of those people had fairly substantial platforms and people were reading in one way or the other. I don't want to throw her under the bus because I really, really love her channel. I want to talk about Jenna Marbles. She is not the only one. She is not the main example. But let's talk about leading up to the 2016 election. She did jokes kind of about Trump and Hillary. She put on a wig and did some sketches about Hillary, and a couple, I think she had like Trump as a vacuum or something like that. It was all very funny. It was all in good fun. And she very staunchly was like, I'm not pushing my political beliefs on anybody. I'm not telling you who I'm voting for. But as someone on the liberal side, it did feel like she hated Hillary Clinton. And it felt like she was on the Republican side. And I think to someone who was Republican and on the conservative side, it probably felt like she was liberal and on the Democratic side. And because she didn't say one way or another, you very strongly felt that pull that like, oh, she's against what I believe in. Or maybe you took it as, oh, she's for what I believe in. And so her neutrality really felt a bit polarizing. You talk about an aspect, you use it as a joke, but you don't say where you stand. It's another thing that just alienates people from one another. It just makes you feel more alone. It makes you feel like you're against the creators. You don't have to be against. They're not out here to be against you. But you do learn a lot about a person based upon where they fall in their political beliefs. You have some guidance as to what things are important to them. And these things have changed, and I think people don't realize how dramatically they've changed, that within our grandparents' lifetime, the political part, or even within our parents' lifetime, the political parties had a flippy-floppy. The beliefs of the Democratic Party and the beliefs of the Republican Party, like the things they stood for, switched. I'm gonna get the year wrong, but it was during the McCarthy era. They were senators who were in the Republican Party who suddenly one day all the policies that they fought for and believed in were Democratic policies. Like, just flip-floppy. People don't talk about that. That is something that happened quite recently. And then, if you happen to be someone who has been of voting age for a while, you will remember that as Obama was becoming the candidate, the Republican Party changed. The Republican Party very much used to be the family values party. It was very much, the church was important, and God was important and all of that, typically, to that side. But it was also, small government, not the government not pushing their agenda onto anybody. And a lot of that sort of got twisted, and it got twisted towards the side of more misogyny, more focus on gun laws, more focus on being anti-abortion. It really honed into a very specific light where a lot of women who I had known who had grown up being in Republican households and thinking, oh yeah, I'm a Republican, grew up into the voting age as Obama was running, and they were like, I don't understand what happened to the Republican Party. Like, why are they only out to get me? And kind of switching. The Republican Party and what it stood for and what conservatism stood for and what it is in the broader sense of like economics is something many people still feel is them. The problem then comes in the political system. The problem then comes in that in a more recent version of the Republican Party, the people who feel most like it represents them and their ideals and their beliefs tends to be actual neo-Nazis, not broad term, oh, they're neo-Nazis. No, I mean like the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys and people who are neo-Nazis, that is their belief system. I'm not in the broad sense, not in the like, oh, you're a Nazi, or like, I don't know why I would even say that. People who their belief system is the belief system of the Nazi Party. They feel heard and they feel entitled and they feel empowered by the current Republican government system in the United States. And that is something that does not connect for most people. And there's also a sense of like this is my party, this is my identity, these are our leaders, and we follow them. But at the same time, like thinking critically of that, like there was never a time where Trump and his beliefs and the things he said lined up with what republicanism, what conservatism were. The Democratic Party has been rightly accused of not doing enough, kind of sitting back. They've always been the let's be friends party, at least within my lifetime, especially with Obama. It was one of his big things was let's be friends, let's not have two totally different sides. At the same time, there were many people who were racist and who were personally offended that the president was black. Conservatism became very tightly connected to racism in that many people within the same many people who identified as conservative happened to also be racist, and that became a very outspoken part of the party during Obama's presidency. I mean, I'm going into all of this and like I'm not an economist. I know what my belief systems are. I have questioned them many times. They change from time to time as new information comes out. I am listening, I'm learning, I'm well educated, I'm not at all confused. Just because I'm not saying everything to you right now as I'm word vomiting this out, I had many comments posted that were, I think people were just posting like flags and that said Trump 2020. I did delete all of those comments. That's not an appropriate thing to be on my channel. That's not who I am. That's not what I stand for. I would like to display this message that I've been wearing on my lips the entire time. Can you see it? Is it too shiny? Shall we do one of these? This is how I feel. I'm furious that we had to put up with this for 4 entire years. 3 entire years, and then 1 as an impeached president, where he has somehow been doing a lot of things that I feel like an impeached president should not be allowed to do. But he never even had a trial, so that's fun. You're entitled to your beliefs, and you know what? I'm totally happy to talk about politics. Like, I don't like just arguing for argument's sake, which is a lot of people's passion, but I am not into that. But if you have legitimate things you want to talk about, legitimate concerns, like, I want to hear them. And I feel like the more we hear things, the more we talk about things, the more you feel comfortable with your political beliefs, the healthier. Like, it's important that people talk about what they believe in, and that you get to make the judgment then, that they're not just selling you something because they're like, ha, you don't know what my political beliefs are, so please buy all my stuff, and I'll just hide those to myself even though I don't support you as a person. I would not want someone who thought transgender people weren't people. I wouldn't want someone who was racist. I wouldn't want somebody who was a neo-Nazi to buy stuff from me. I don't need that money. I'm not into blood money. I'm comfortable saying this because I don't need the money of people who fundamentally disagree with who I am, or with who my friends are, or with what I believe in. I don't need your money. And I don't want to give my money to someone who does fundamentally disagree with the things that I believe in, or with the people that I am friends with. Give us the chance to decide. Be comfortable standing by your policies, like by your politics. Be comfortable to say, hey, this is what I believe in. I think it's important. I think more people need to do it so that more people feel like they have other people who believe in them, so they're able to find their communities easier. It's one of the #1 things that is kind of dividing the country, is not being able to find your community, especially online. It's just a cesspool of information. But if it was all there, if it was out there and available, and it didn't feel like everyone was radical in every different direction, we might be able to have a little bit more moderacy. That's just kind of my thoughts on some of that. I just want to be open and out there that yes, I'm going to be voting for Biden this election season. I threw all my support behind Elizabeth Warren, and obviously that was not to happen, but I am going to support the candidate that is going to kick Trump out of office. So that is where I am, and I am hoping to fight for better for this country. We can do better. I have to believe that we're going to be starting on that path very soon here, and I'm gonna do my part. So that is all for today. Give this video a thumbs down if you didn't like it. You know, if you don't agree with me, no skin off my back. But do not leave a Trump 2020 comment down in the description, because I will delete it. There's no need for that. Endorsing candidates is for me to say in the video right here, because it's my video. I don't need that shit in the comments. But I'm totally happy to discuss politics with you, or to point you in some different directions if you're totally lost and would like something like that. So anyway, I just want to get that off my chest, and yeah, good luck to us this coming election season. Do not forget to vote. Make sure you are registered, and please go vote. Bye!